But he was in the midterm exam, isn't it?
Kevin was at the exam. We were three students. I don't know
Yeah.
about Rahel.
One was Kevin, I think. Kevin is not the one, Rahel, isn't it? I don't know who is Rahel, but he is always on, but not attending the class. But Kevin is not attending the class. I don't know who is this Kevin, but he already attended to the midterm exam. Anyway, I'm going to share the slides. Today, I will offer you the extension of the last lecture, this quantity theory of money from Fisher. And then will be then for today finish. It will not be too large exam, sorry, lecture. It will be only to complete the last part of the lecture that we have done last week. And if you have any question about the exam or anything else, then I'm ready to answer your questions. Okay, if you don't, then I'm going to share the slides and going to the presentation. Um, I hope you were satisfied with the exam because I try to manage it with your content, which presented already, which we done in the classes. And if there is any problems, then you may come to my office hour, then we can discuss at once comprehensively. Let me slide, upload this slide to you. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
sure.
Perfect. As you remember, we were talking about the quantity theory of money. And in quantity theory of money, we are not only questioning the production or so-called the output, but we are questioning the monetary value of the production, so-called the money in the circulation. And we have this equation MV is equal to PQ. And PQ is the output, as you know, and M is the monetary amount, and V is the speed of money, which is in the circulation. Therefore, when we are going to evaluate and introduce you this quantity theory of money, we are also questioning and representing you the production. As much as the production is enlarged, as you are understanding from this equation, the price and the quantity, which is going to be in the end of the year, will give the GDP, so-called the output, will also represent the amount of the money which is in the circulation. Therefore, the production amount, the production operation process, is becoming very eligible in the economy because it is also increasing and enlarging the activities in the monetary sector, in the money market, in the financial markets. The quantity theory of money is very important, as I said to you, is helping hand for the entrepreneur, for the people who are wishing to borrow money and invest to the any economical activities. Therefore, as much as we are having sufficient financial ability in the country, this will then help to enlarge and increase the production operation process. The price level, as it is important parameter in the production operation process, is also important because if demand is not sufficient, the price is not sufficiently given. Therefore, the profit also will not also deliver to the producer sufficiently. Therefore, from the demand side of the economy, we are also expecting sufficiently consumers demanding produce goods and services. And when this is realized, then the price level will become more attractive and will increase and enhance the economical activities. If we don't have any demand, then this is also recession. This is also a problem for the economy. How the price level is determined and why it might change over time is called the quantity theory of money. As you are understanding from this sentence, the price is also becoming very eligible in the quantity theory of money, as I mentioned and explained you as much as possible from this content. The quantity of money available in the economy determines the value of the money. Therefore, if you are having sufficient money, this will then enlarge and increase the amount of the money, and also it is affecting the value of the money. If you are having too much money in the economy, this doesn't mean that you are having valuable money. When you are having too much money, let's say you are printing continuously money for enlarging and increasing the money in the market, this will cause depreciation. This will reduce the value of the money. This will devaluate the money, and this will cause some depreciation of the domestic currency and increase the appreciation of the foreign currencies. Therefore, we have to manage the money market very strictly, very carefully, for being able to enlarge and increase the amount of the money in the system for transferring to the production operation process, because the quantity theory of money is also giving us the chance for understanding the amount of the produced goods and services in the market. Therefore, money market and the produced goods and services, so-called the goods market, is also becoming very important from this aspect. The primary cause of inflation is the growth in the quantity of money. As I mentioned to you, if you are continuously printing money or enlarging the amount of the money in the system, this is not good for the economy. This will cause some problem to the economy, because when you are increasing the amount of the money in the system, this is not good. You are not valuing, you are not appreciating your currency. You are only depreciating your currency. Therefore, you have to manage the amount of the money in the system for being able to consume and supply the produce and goods and services. From this point of view, I have to refresh you, because I'm sure you are aware of this nominal and real variables. And in the economy, we are having a problem with these two variables. On the one side, the nominal variables, which we are only concentrating to the current values and the monetary values of the currency, is affecting and changing the economical activities. And on the other side, the real variables, which is the purchasing power of the currency and purchasing power of the produced goods and services in the system, will be bought by this currency, is also affecting the economy. Therefore, we are always preferring to use the real variables when we are evaluating the economical activities and the produced goods and services in the economy. If you are concentrating only the nominal variables, if you are not understanding this nominal and real distinction and differences, please interrupt me and let me explain it comprehensively. I suppose that you know. If you don't know, then I will give you some comprehensive examples and give you more detailed information about this content. Do you want me to explain it, or you are understanding nominal and real variables? Yes, please.
Yeah, if you
You know,
explain it, it would be better for us.
okay. I can give you a very simplest example for being able to understand the nominal and real variables. Think about, you are having 10 Turkish lira, or let's say 100 Turkish lira, and with this 100 Turkish lira, last year you are able to buy 20 Turkish bread. And now you are only buying with this 100 Turkish lira 10 Turkish bread, which means you already 100% becomes expensive, this bread. And this is the inflation. And when you are doing this comparison between last year and current year, this is the real variables comparison. This is the purchasing power parity of the real variables, which gives you a reasonable understanding of your currency that you are holding in your hands. But if I am telling you are having 100 Turkish lira as you are holding last year, doesn't make sense for being able to understand the difference. But if I am telling you are having 100 Turkish lira now, but now I will give you 200 Turkish lira, which is good for you. You are having double. You will double your currency. But in real terms, you are only able to maintain your existing existence, or let's say the purchasing capacity for the Turkish bread, because last year it was bought with 100 Turkish lira 20 breads, but this year you are able to buy with 100 Turkish lira only 10 breads. And if I'm going to appreciate or give you some consolidated income, let's say your income is 100 Turkish lira and you will get 200 Turkish lira this week or this month, and this means this is only consolidating your lose. You are losing some purchasing capacity, isn't it? Your purchasing capacity is doubled already because of the inflation. You have to require 200 Turkish lira for being able to buy this similar goods or same amount of goods and services in the market. Therefore, nominal variables doesn't make a reasonable understanding for the people who are not comparing these things. And if I am talking about the GDP or GNI, gross national income, and I am the politicians and talking about the, let's say, economical developments, and I'm telling you, last year's our development was 100 billion Turkish lira, but this year's our development doubled itself, and it is 200 billion Turkish lira. But in real terms, unfortunately, it is only consolidated because this increase and this monetary enlargement is only realized because of the inflation. In real terms, as I said to you, when we are looking to the production operation process and produce goods and services in the system, you are only observing that you are having the same goods as last year and you are consuming the same goods as last year, but the only increase variable is the inflation and the prices, and this will then cause some higher value for the GNI, and this is the monetary value. This is the nominal variables. This is the nominal estimation of the economy. And when you are considering and comparing the real variables, you will see as last year we are producing similar products. As I said to you, 20 breads, but now you are requiring 200 Turkish lira or 200 million, blah, blah, something to buy. You understand what is it, how it is going to affect and change the economic parameters and exaggerate the economy, and people will may then think the economy is doing well. We are developing, our economy is enlarging in monetary values at least, but blah, blah. This is, of course, not good for the people who are understanding some economics, because we are not comparing the real variables. We are not considering the development of the produced goods and services, but we are considering only the nominal variables, which is only increase in nominal terms, which is increase in monetary values, which is increase in current values. And this is not the mean that the economy is doing well, but this is the mean that the inflation is increasing and the price is increasing, and this is then not good for the economy as a whole, economical impact when we are thinking about it. Is it enough for you for this estimation, for this explanation? I think it will be okay. Is
For
it
me,
enough?
it
You are
was okay. Yeah, for me, thanks a lot. It was okay.
Okay. The Hume, the economist, the scientist, and the others consider the real economic variables which do not change with change in the money supply. According to the classical dichotomy, different forces influences real and nominal variables. And change in the money supply affect the nominal variables, but not the real variables. As I said to you, changes in the money supply affect only monetary nominal variables, but not the real variables. As I said to you, this can be acceptable, but from which aspect you are talking about this money supply? If you are talking about from this nominal effect and nominal impact, this is definitely correct, as I have explained to you. The irrelevance of monetary changes for real variables is called monetary neutrality. Therefore, these monetary changes for real variables is also important. and the monetary neutrality is affecting and changing the economy. Sorry. Sorry for my, I get a little bit cold. The velocity of money refers to the speed at which the typical dollar bills travel around the economy from valley to valley, which means from place to place, the dollar or the Turkish lira is transferring and traveling and exchanging, and this will then cause some impact to the economy. As much as this circulation is realized, we call this speed of money, we call this velocity, we call this transferring the money from one valley to other, which is affecting and changing the economical activities, because we are enjoying to having this money for transferring our, let's say, treasuries and our bills in this aspect. When we are looking to this velocity or speed of money, it is, of course, when you know the quantity theory of money, it is P multiplied with V is equal to P multiplied Y, which is P is the price, Y is the output, M is the quantity of money, and what I didn't say, V is the velocity, which is the speed of money. Therefore, MV is equal to PY, and when you are going to divide this M from each side, this will then gives you this equation. V is equal to P multiplied Y divided to M. I think you know some mathematics, and you can do this very easily. Rewriting the equation gives the quantity equation as it is represented here. M multiplied V is equal to PQ. Q or Y is the amount of the goods and services produced in the system. And it is, as you are observing, the amount of the money and the produced goods and services is becoming very eligible when the price and the speed of money is also in the circulation. The quantity equation relates the quantity of money to the nominal value of the output. Therefore, P is going to multiply it with Y, will then gives you V multiplied with M. The quantity equation shows that any increase in the quantity of money in an economy must be reflected in one of three other variables, which is the price level must rise, the quantity of output must rise, or the velocity of money must fall. Either or any of these is going to be affecting and changing this equation. The price must be increased, the quantity of the produced goods and services must be enlarged, and the speed of money must reduce for reducing and changing this equation. Here it is given the M2, which is the cash and the coins, and nominal GDP is represented with the pink one. As you are observing, it is almost parallelly. The amount of the money which is in the circulation and the produced goods and services is almost similarly realized, and speed of money, as you are observing, is somehow is a horizontal line which is transferring and changing the economical activities regarding to this speed of money and change in the system. But the amount of the money which is in the system is dependent to the produced goods and services, and it is almost similarly realized. It has this similar curve as you are observing on this graphic between 60s and 2000. The equilibrium price level, inflation rate, and the quantity theory of money. The velocity of money is relatively stable over time. As you are observing from the last graph, it is almost stable and somehow fixed. And when the central bank changes the quantity of money, depending this, the supply of money dependent to the central bank. Fit here is the Federal Reserve System of the America, which is the central bank of the America or central bank of the country, is affecting and changing the quantity of money, which means the money supply is dependent to the central bank activities, and it is supposed to be fixed. Therefore, it is only change if the central bank do some activities for enlarging and increasing, either printing money or making some monetary easing or doing some let's say, open market operations, expansionary, contractionary money policies, or some reserve ratio or discount rate or similar activities can affect and change the amount of the money in the system. And when the Fed or central bank changes the quantity of money, it causes proportionate changes in the nominal value, as it is indicated with P multiplied with Y, because it is affecting and changing. You don't have money in the system, then of course, produce goods and services will not be bought, and the price which is going to given will be very expensive or will not desired. Therefore, the amount of the goods and services will not then change. Money is neutral and money does not affect output. Of course, it is neutral, but it is not affecting the output, but its circulation in the system affecting. Therefore, as much as money in the system is effective and changing from valley to valley, from place to place, then it is affecting and changing the output. As you are observing, when you go to shop from one shop to other, and you go to the restaurant, you go then some other cinema, you go to the hospital, then you go to the taxi, but you distribute this money, and this money circulate the market, and it will create some amount of activities, economical activities, which create this monetary value in the system. The hyperinflation is assumed to be above 50% or more, and if it is exceeding, as we are currently exercising, this hyperinflation is not good for the economy. And hyperinflation occurs in some countries because the government prints too much money and to pay for its spending. As in Turkey, currently we are holding too much new banknotes. We are having too much papers, fresh papers printed from the government, printing from the central banks and distributed and issued to the market, to the banking sector. And when we are going to get some automats, some money from the automats, you are always getting fresh money. You are always getting new banknotes, and this is because Turkish government and Turkish central bank, actually Turkish central bank is an autonomous and independent institution. It should be independent and autonomous institution, but it is unfortunately affected from the government activities and government policies. Therefore, government always playing important role for printing and issuing this money. And when you are printing too much money, this hyperinflation is not is inevitable. It is not prevented. Therefore, either you have to use other policies as quantitative easing or some other, as I mentioned to you, open market operations, other monetary central bank monetary policies, or you continuously printing this money for preventing these problems. But if you don't understand from economics, this is unfortunately causing too much to the whole welfare, to the whole nation's social, economical living and standards and comfortable level, comfortable structure of the peoples will start to reduce. They will start to lose their welfare and their living standards, and this is not good, because your money becoming very small in amount. It is becoming larger. You are holding maybe let's say 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 Turkish lira, but in real terms, it is only a very small amount of money, which is not able to buy too much. You have to pay too much money to get some food. This is not good for the economy. The comparison between Austria and Hungary is given, the money and price during the hyperinflation periods. As you are observing, it is after the First World War. And you are observing the price level and the money supply is parallelly realized. As much as you printing money or distributing money, the price is going up. Similarly realized in the Hungary. And as you are observing, the money supply at least is below the price level. which means inflation is above the money supply. This is not good for the economies. And this is a very solid example, which is exercised and realized in 100 years ago. But currently, unfortunately, some emerging economies continuously printing money, continuously using this unnecessary money policies or government policies for maintaining their existence and printing money or doing such wrong, let's say, economical decisions and let's say financial applications. And this will then cause too much to the whole economy, and this will then reduce the consumer and the citizens' welfare. And this is unfortunately causing some monetary transfers from the consumers to the producers, from the demand side of the economy to the supply side, because as much as the price going up, the capitalist approach is in the economy, and it is only the supporting the capitalist application. It is only supporting the capitalist and the people who are holding in their hands these production operation and activities, and this is not good for the economy because they are only enjoying to increase and enlarge their profit while the other parties becoming poorer. Similarly, in Germany and Poland, given, as you are observing, the price level and the money supply parallelly realized at the period which is given, and this is not good. This is not really good because you are suffering, you are exercising too much problem in the economy. If you read the history, as we are also doing, you are understanding at that time they were in very bad economical conditions, and they were requiring some American aid and World Bank support and financial let's say contribution for becoming sustainable economical activities for restructuring their economies, which was damaged and destroyed during the First World War. The inflation tax, when the government raises revenue by printing money, it is said to levy on inflation tax. It is similarly realized when the government printing money, it is exactly the same for taxing your currency, for taxing your income. If I am telling you, you are giving me 10% of your income because I am taxing or levying your income for 10%, you may not hurt. But if I am telling you I'm going to levy your income for 60%, for 80%, you will probably reject this offer. But with inflation, nobody can reject this because it is inflation. It is the price increase, rising the general prices, inflation. And when this has happened, everybody suffered. Everybody tried to find other abilities and other options for maintaining their existence, because inflation is somehow very dangerous, let's say, instrument for playing with the economy. Inflation is the most important parameter which is affecting the whole parameters, and you cannot do any objection for this. It says inflation. It is inflation. We cannot do. Most of the government people, as you are observing, giving the, let's say, trying to find some guilty person or institution or country for giving them the all problems and all the difficulties, which is not dependent to the government people, which is not dependent to the politicians. Unfortunately, it is dependent, it is affected from the politicians because they are misleading and speculative actions and activities and policies and let's say economical regulations affecting and changing the whole economy. Let's say they are putting some let's say heavy tax to the imported inputs, or they are continuously printing money, or they are not applying or employing these open market operations, or they are intervening this central bank, continuously not letting them to manage the inflation. Because when there is a price increase, then you have to increase the nominal interest rate for balancing the economy, for reducing the amount of the money in the system. The money supply will be then reduced and will then balance and manage this inflation at least for a short period of time. And then this will then goes like this for preventing and affecting the other parameters. Unfortunately, none of these done in the economies where there is a high inflation and there is, let's say, economical difficulties and stagnating, and there's too much struggle with these problems. It is dependent to the politicians who are not able to manage these parameters carefully, who are not able to put the necessary measures and instruments to the economy. Due to this reason, unfortunately, the whole people, the whole country suffer. As you are exercising and observing in your country, I don't know, you are coming from, I think, Afghanistan, and the other one comes from Nigeria. Am I right? Is it okay?
Congo and Afghanistan.
And the
On
girl
is from Congo.
is in Nigeria. Are you from
Congo.
Nigeria or Ghana? Where she's coming?
On is not at this life. I think she's from Congo.
Congo.
Yes.
She's not on. Are you from Congo? And any?
No. No, I'm from Afghanistan. This is
Yeah,
Sayed
I
Harun.
know. Say it, I know, but I am asking for Anna. N. Are you from Congo? N, do you hear me?
On is not over here. That girl is not. She came, but she went. She's not online today.
She left.
Yeah,
Okay,
she.
then I suppose I was thinking she was on also. No problem. Then we will go on to finish the class. Okay, then. Okay, then the Fisher effect. As I mentioned to you, the Fisher effect is somehow to adjust and manage one-to-one the price changes and the transparency in the economy between the price changes, which is very important for the economy. And Fisher effects refers to a one-to-one adjustment of the nominal interest rate to the inflation rate, which is very popular. By using this equation, the uh, real interest rate is equal to nominal interest rate minus inflation. If this is zero, then it's good. Between the nominal interest rate and the inflation, there is no changes. They go parallel. It is good then for the economy. And according to the Fisher effect, when the rate of inflation rises, the nominal interest rate rises by the same amount. It should be, but unfortunately, it is not realized. The real interest rate stays the same if it is realized, but it is unfortunately not realized. In many economies, this is not realized, and this purchasing power is then affected very much because inflation goes higher and real interest rate is becoming negative and nominal interest rate becoming slower and lower than the inflation, and it becomes negative value, which has meant when you are putting some money to the banking sector, you will get negative interest in the end of this period of time, in the maturity date of this capital. You will get some negative. Of course, you will get some additional amount, but as I said to you, if there is 100% inflation in the economy and you are getting only 50% consolidated income, and you want to buy again 20 bread, you will only buy 15 bread with this money. This is the similar if this interest rate is only 50% or 20%, and you have, let's say, 70% inflation, then you will get, unfortunately, negative 50%, because 70 minus 20 is going to give you 50% negative inflation and negative inflation and real value or real interest rate for your capital which you put into the banking sector. And this is then not good for you, because your currency and your capital after a year will become smaller, and you are not able to buy the same amount of goods and services as it is in the last year. The cost of inflation is also affected from Schulater cost, menu cost, relative price variability, tax distortions, and confusion and inconvenience, and arbitrary redistribution of the wealth. Let's look up this Schulater cost. Schulater costs are the resources wasted when inflation encourages people to reduce their in-money holding. Hence, inflation reduces the real value of money, so people have an incentive to minimize their cash holdings. Less cash requires more frequent trips to the bank to withdraw money from interest-bearing accounts. The actual cost of reducing your money holdings in the time and convenience you must sacrifice to keep less money on hand. Also, extra trips to the bank take times away from productive activities. Menu cost are the cost of adjusting prices. During inflationary times, it is necessary to update price lists and other posted prices. This is the resource-consuming process that takes away from other productive activities. Inflation distorts relative prices, as I mentioned to you. Consumer decisions are distorted when the inflation is in the market, because they are not able to determine when and how they are going to buy, because inflation continues to reduce its purchasing power, and they are trying to manage this loose from the market, going to market, finding the reasonable prices for being able to shop, or trying to wait for reducing these higher prices in the markets. There is some discount sales for being able to shop and cover this loss from occurred inflation, or because of the inflation. And markets are less able to allocate resources to their best use because of this inflation. And inflation exaggerates the size of the capital, as I mentioned to you in the example. The gross national income will become exaggerated and become more, but in real terms, you produce goods and services, unfortunately, probably maybe the lesser than the last year, but the monetary value, which is increased results of this inflation, will cause this amount, which is in nominal terms more, but in real terms is less, and increases the tax burden on this type of income. It is somehow a tax burden when this inflation realizes and causes too much to the economy. And with progressive taxation, capital gains are taxed more heavily. And inflation-induced tax distortion, as I mentioned to you, income tax treats the nominal interest earned on savings as income, even though part of the nominal interest rate merely compensate for inflation. The after-tax real interest rate falls, making saving less attractive. Because if you are taxing the interest rate, this will then cost too much and reduce the saving amount, which is in the economy very important capital or loanable activities and loanable resources for transferring to the investment. Here it is given this inflation raises the tax burden on the savings. As you are observing here, the economy A and economy B, there is a price stability in the economy, A, and there is inflation in the B. And as you are observing here, real interest rate is 4% for the both, but inflation rate on the one is 0 and on the other side is 8, and the nominal interest rate, real interest rate plus inflation is 4. And when you are adding the inflation, it is going to be 12 and reduce interest due to this tax, which is, of course, artificially created, then 0.25, which is the tax multiplied with the nominal interest rate, will be then 1%, and it goes to the 3% for the other economy when you are multiplying it, isn't it? For the 4, with 4, multiplying it is going to be 1, and we're going to multiply it with the 0.25, which is dividing 12 to the 4, will give you then 3. Therefore, after tax nominal interest rate is going to be 0.75, is going to only 3, and for the economy B is going to 9%, and after tax real interest rate is going to be 3 for the economy A, where the price is stable, and there where the economy is not stable and there is inflation, the interest rate is, God say dank, very happily, it is only 1%, not negative for these two given example where the economy is stable and the other one is not stable for the A. Therefore, you are observing here the economical activities also affected from this interest and inflation. If the inflation is not adopted and consolidated with this higher percentages, then the nominal interest rate will also becomes very important in the economy and reduce this amount of the money which is going to be transferred to the next year, which is going to be saved and expected, let's say, resources which is going to be generated from this capital results of this interest is also reduced. In the economy A is 3%, and in economy B, where the inflation is high, is only 1%. The confusion and inconvenience is also expected when the inflation is in the market. When the central bank increases the money supply and create inflation, it erodes the real value of the unit of account. And inflation causes the currency at different times to have different real values, and therefore with rising the prices, it is more difficult to compare real revenues, cost, and profits over the time, because continuously you are trying to change the prices because it is increasing and changing the profit rate. And on the other side, supplier is also not able to catch up these price changes, and the consumers are also not able to manage these changes and for becoming profitable business and becoming profitable shop, results of this inflation, which is affecting the both parties. A special cost of unexpected inflation, arbitrary redistribution of the wealth is realized. As I said to you, inflation is the reason for transferring some reasonable capital from consumers to the producers, because inflation is a burden for the consumers, and inflation is somehow a profit, an increase of their capital, because just because of the inflation, not selling anything, this money and this capital or this goods and services which is produced in the system will become expensive, and the capitalist approach says producer always enjoy this inflation. That's the reason why the government's always supporting this inflationary pressures and inflationary policy, because they are trying to support the producers, because when the inflation is in the market, they will enjoy to increase their monetary values, and their goods and services becomes more expensive in the domestic market. But in the foreign markets, this will become cheaper because the currency becomes cheaper, and the export will become cheaper in the foreign markets, and the producer will enjoy to distribute to the other destinations outside of the country. And this is also good for the economy. They say they will enjoy to catch up these dollars from the foreign currencies, from the foreign countries. But in the domestic market, the consumer always suffer from this redistribution of the money, which is caused from the inflation. And the summary, the overall price in economy, the overall rise of the prices is inflation, as I said to you, and brings money supply and money demand into balance. When the central bank increases the supply of money, it causes the price level to increase. As I said to you, this is them printing money somehow and or doing some other activities for enlarging and distributing the money to the market. This will then increase the prices, and persistent growth in the quantity of money supplied leads to continuing inflation. And the prices of the money neutrality asserts that changes in the quantity of money influence nominal variables, but not the real variables, as I mentioned to you. A government can pay for its spending simply by printing more money, and this can result in an inflation tax, so-called the taxation of the economy, and hyperinflation will be then subjected, which is 50% and more inflation in the economy is not good and is always causing too much to the economy. And according to Fisher equation, it says the real interest rate should be equal to the nominal interest rate minus inflation, which means nominal interest rate should be equal to the inflation, at least for balancing and maintaining the real interest rate and preventing the value of the money. And many people think that the inflation makes them poorer because it raises the cost of the living and cost of buying some goods and services. And view is a fallacy because inflation also raises the nominal income, and it is also not good because nominal income increases but the purchasing capacity is decreasing. And economists have indexed 6 costs of inflation: the Shulater cost, menu cost, increasing the variability of the relative price, unintended tax liability changes, and confusion and inconvenience, arbitrary redistribution of the wealth is also subjected results of this inflation. These are the today's class. I hope you satisfied with my presentation because I accelerated a little bit because I am a little bit sick also. But next lecture, we will go to the Keynesian model. If you are also here and your colleagues, then we will present some applications with calculations, and you will enjoy to measure some variables with these economical activities. If you don't have any question, then I will quit. I will finish this class for today. And thank you very much for joining again to us. If you have any questions, say it, and I am here. If not, then I will finish this class.
No, I don't have any question. I wish you a good health again.
Thank you very much. Do you have any question or anything else? Okay, she's not speaking. Is she on, or I don't know, because she looks like on, but she's not responding to me. Okay, then thank you very much. See you next week then.